Cryptocurrencies. Buy, hold, sell, cry. Let's talk about it. I understand that right now there's a lot of people bag holding cryptos. And so I think it's important to just kind of sit down and talk about it. The market is in upheaval right now. If you watched the last Sunday report, we also talked about what could cause the next crash. There's definitely some need for concern, but let's go ahead and for the rest of this video, switch up our time frame. The trap most investors fall for is called the horizon effect. What occurs is that when you start to panic and you start to see red or negative balance in your account, and you're starting to run against you, you're losing money, you stop thinking about a long-term trajectory and you start thinking in the short term. A good example is if you're drowning underwater and you're trying to get a breath of air, you're not thinking about, oh, my insurance. That's not something that enters your head, right? So in that panic mode, the brain wants to go towards, a primal instinct of fight or flight. And it thinks in the immediate instead of in the long term. But when we're talking about new technologies and the adoption and a huge paradigm shift in how people will use money in the future or the different technologies that could come around, it one takes a lot of imagination, and it takes a long time frame. So a lot of people are still worried about this as an investment because it's collapsing, and I get it, and a lot of people are wondering why. Without going into a full macroeconomic explanation, just in general, the Federal Reserve is making money more expensive, which means people have less money. Inflation's also affecting them, right? This happens even with gold, by the way. When the Great Depression hit, you would think gold had the best performance ever. But when you look at the historical analysis, people were selling gold for things like food. They weren't stockpiling it. They needed actual goods. And in today's world, there's tons of inflation. Energy's high. Gas prices are high. Food's high. People still want to travel. They want to try to maintain the lifestyles they've had previous when things weren't stupid expensive and the economy was doing fine. But, we're coming into a recession. Things are more expensive. People are selling things like their crypto expenses. A lot of people took their profits and they're using that for the things they need in life. It's just a symptom of what's going on. Does that mean anything has changed fundamentally with the technology? Not at all. So let's go ahead and really break down why this technology will persist past this panic. Bitcoin literally lets you use energy as money. It converts electricity into money. And like this computer right here, I could load the program to turn it into a miner, and it would solve the equation that causes a transaction with Bitcoin to occur, which would then pay me. Okay, the electricity I use to power that then turns directly into money. This is literally a process that allows you to turn electricity into money. So when people say, oh, Bitcoin's not backed by anything, it's backed by literal energy, which is a necessity for most of the things that occur in the modern world. Okay, people like to compare the dollar being backed by gold, or more modern actually analysis of that would be the dollar is backed by oil, which is just a different type of energy. But if we look at a longer time frame, we start utilizing things like nuclear energy. Energy becomes even cheaper. It makes things like cryptocurrencies just that more applicable. Now, does this mean that Bitcoin will be the new thing that we use to transact with one another? Right now, not likely. But does it make it a good alternative for something like gold? Yes. There seems to be an argument for that. Or even something like a bond. If it finds some stability in the future, if there's mass adoption of Bitcoin, it could be more applicable for that utility. But the thing to consider here is that energy prices are still really high and they're getting higher, which means it costs more for me to mine it, which means it costs more to run the network, which still makes it really expensive to transact. Now, other currencies have entered the environment to help try and solve this issue. One of them being Dogecoin, which people keep asking me about all the time. So many Dogecoin questions. And let me just say right here, fundamentally, Dogecoin does not work. I don't see it as a good technology. It's inflationary by nature. That's kind of what we want to escape. We don't want to return to that because it's never worked before. To think it will work just because it's a cryptocurrency is just kind of a fallacy. I just want to set that to the side. It was a joke when it was made, and I know Elon was out here advocating for it. He was memeing. It was supposed to be a joke, But then everyone's confused because everything's confusing, which I completely get. But Dogecoin is not something that will have longevity just because the programming for it is just faulty right off the get-go. It's a non-starter, which is something we have to be aware of. Not all of this will survive. In fact, only a fraction of them will have longevity. We've seen stable coins fall apart. That was with the Luna, Terra, and UST network completely fell apart, which caused that first crash that we saw with the cryptocurrencies very recently. But where there's risk and competition, there is usually lots of reward and lots of really big winners. We're talking about the next Amazon. If you're looking on the stock market for the next Amazon, there's a few, especially in this environment, that look appealing. But when you look at crypto, there's just, wow, mind-boggling opportunities that still exist in this space, especially if we continue to see sell-offs. And keep in mind, that last Sunday report, some of these people are having to sell just because of the environment around them, not because they don't believe in the technology. And that's really important to remember, because these will be buyers that come back. They're gone just for a moment. And there's lots of money on the sidelines that will also probably participate in this. Lots of capital still sits in the private market. We're talking like $250 billion that's just sitting there waiting for an opportunity to buy. Now, when it comes to individual coins, there's like infinite amounts of coins, and everyone's like, what about this one, this one, this one, this one, this one? What, you don't know about this one? Well, how do you not know about this one? There's only a million different coins to pay attention. Come on, Josh, don't you know every stock ticker and every crypto coin that's ever existed? No, but luckily, if you join the Discord and you ask us about it, there's lots of people who are crypto investors there who keep a good eye on the market. And I'm more than happy to dive into it in the Discord. However, I'm not going to make a video about every single coin that exists unless, maybe in the future we'll do like a Solana video or a Cardano video. These are also coins that we've built different descriptions on in the Discord. So if you want to participate in those conversations or learn some more, you can click the link down below and join the Discord. And Loki, if this big sell took you off guard, you really want to join the Discord, where we always are giving alerts and seeing different warning signs or buy opportunities that are occurring. But generally, when it comes to these different cryptocurrencies, what you want to be considering is the philosophy behind the conception of them. What are they trying to solve? Treat every single one like a business, okay? This business is trying to come up with some solution. What is the problem that they solve? Are they solving it correctly? Lots of these coins are trying to come up with new ways of doing governance, which is the DOAs, where they're trying to say, oh, well, this will be a new system for decision making that communities can use. Okay, well, how does that work? What is the governance like? You can almost look at it as like a philosophical problem. Is this something that historically has been attempted before and has not ever worked? Are these people doing their due diligence to figure that out? This is something that occurred with Dogecoin. You have a bunch of coders who are very smart, but they aren't economists, and they did not study how money works. They simply came up with this idea and this conceptualization of what they think could be a solution without laying the groundwork for the fundamentals of what has worked in history and what has not. And that's really what differentiates Bitcoin from all the other cryptocurrencies. All right. A proof is the process for which a transaction occurs with the cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's proof is called proof of work, which means that the system is solving a complex problem to enter the transaction and complete it. Other cryptocurrencies use what is called proof of stake. Now, there's also many and constantly growing other types of proofs. But Bitcoin is the only one that uses the proof of work process. It is the most decentralized process, although it is also the most expensive, which is why different things like Ethereum have taken off and grown to big NFT markets, because it has more of, let's say, the consumer interest in the fact that it's cheaper to transact. And NFTs are a whole other thing to talk about. Non-fungible tokens, just a refresher. Okay, these are one of one. And I know lots of people like to set them aside because they think it's all art or just still images or maybe like little gifts. But first of all, people do collect stuff. People love to collect stuff. So I don't think that you should just knock them off just because of that. But the applications for this are way outside of that. All right. One example I've used previously is that they're being used as season tickets, where you use it as your ticket to go all the games, and then after that it becomes memorabilia. Maybe you had a season ticket for this team that crushed all season long, and now you can resell it in 10 years because it has all this value behind it. Like, oh wow, that was one of like 100 season tickets that were sold. Besides that, you also have it in the music industry. Snoop Dogg's been taking advantage of this. Actually, he's a very early adopter of this technology. And the idea here is that you can have people buy digital albums, and those digital albums then return to them part of the revenue from streams or from music videos or different deals the artist gets. If you're a new artist up and coming, this is like the avenue you must go down now, because this allows you to get paid, to get yours, something that doesn't exist in the music industry whatsoever. It's a huge disruptor for this space. You're a new artist, you make all your albums NFTs, people buy them to support you, but then they also get a portion of the revenue from everything that you do. So when you succeed, your whole community succeeds. It makes it a very personal environment. Maybe it also gives you access to some concerts. They can do whatever they want if they're the creator of it. And we've seen people like Gary Vee use this in a different way, where he's trying to make cartoon characters, but also give back to the community that buys the NFTs. It's like a different way of crowdfunding that's more, that gives back to you, okay? No one will ever use something like Patreon in the future. Or the other services that exist to fill that need. They'll instead use NFTs, because it's the best way to do it, because it allows you to give back to the community. This is a brand new thing. We've got nothing comparable to this. It's a beautiful thing. And on top of that, no one can break their contract. It's all coded into the system. There's no getting out of it, which is why it could be used in different processes, like, I don't know, voting. And lots of people have given me pushback on this. Like, that'll never happen. It'll never be used for voting. And it's like, it might not be used for voting tomorrow, but in 6 months or 6 years from now, when we continue to have debates over, well, that was fake, or that was manipulated, or that was, this doesn't work. There's a need for this. There's a need. Where there's a need, there will be solutions. Here is your solution. We just need the adoption to pull through for it. All right. So different legalities, insurance, it's also why it could be used for home purchases. Suddenly the process of buying or selling a house could be streamlined and easy. And lots of people are also saying, well, how do you not know someone just made a fake of it? Well, that's the thing. When you mint these, which is the process that you go through when you create them, minting them gives them an exact code line, kind of like a URL, that's not a good example, like a barcode on them, so that they're one of one. It's very easy to identify what's fake and what's real. And that's why it also works in art, because even though someone could just copy the image and then distribute it everywhere, you can turn around, go through a legal process and say, look, this is the real one. There's no disputing it. This is the real one. And that'll be how adoption comes through. It'll take a while for different legalities to be used on a wide scale. But the consumer side of this, the collectible side, the ticket sales, supporting your favorite artists, or even video games. There's already different MOBA games where, you're playing something like Skyrim and you're collecting stuff, but you're actually getting cryptocurrency for the items you collect in games so that you can make real money off the game. And in different countries where the cost of living is real low, some people are getting paid like minimum wage to play video games without having to be a streamer or anything, which is big. And so when you see the consumer side start to take off, that will provide the confidence for this to make the transition to be more part of your daily life. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the avenues that would bring the average person to use these. And one of those will be movie ticket sales. If you buy this NFT, you'll see the normal movie. But if you buy this NFT, you'll get extra bonus scenes, maybe see it in 3D. Maybe that ticket actually allows you to see a whole series of movies that's going to come out. Maybe you can buy a big Marvel ticket. And then when that adoption reaches its inception, then you'll see people start to use cryptocurrencies for everything. That's how this bridges the gap between an interesting idea and maybe an innovation that's very speculative to something that's now a part of your daily life. And we're seeing it. We're seeing glimpses of it. It's happening. It will happen. This will be the technology of the future. And the people who are willing to put the work in to study these different projects that are going on will benefit and win big. And that was the goal of this video, is to remind you that this is the technology of the future. This is here to stay. This is how it reaches the consumer, which then turns into confidence that then enter all aspects of your life. This is a new paradigm. This is big, and it will happen because it solves so many of the problems that exist today. And so the wallets are the last piece of the puzzle. MetaMask seems to be the easiest wallet to use right now, which is huge because you want that interconnectivity. All right, so once the wallets continue to improve, which is rapidly happening, wallets improve, people start using NFTs because they start using them for everything, and then boom, crypto's right there. People are suddenly using crypto for all their transactions, and they're using their wallet, and suddenly it's just an everyday part of your life. That's how you get the adoption. That's how we embrace the technology of the future. So leave a comment down below if you still have more questions. There's more topics you want me to cover. I tried to do a very general video. Maybe you already knew this information. Maybe you picked up a few facts along the way, or maybe this was just really enlightening for you. That's my big goal. I hope that you found this helpful. I'll make more videos in the future. Make sure to join the Discord where the conversation is always continuing. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next episode.